Hello, and welcome to Message in the Middle with Marianne. We all know that life is hard, right? It's messy, it's unpredictable, but it can be wonderful all at the same time. My hope is that we can take a deep dive into self-development topics and explore life's lessons through book clubs, conversations, and interviews. And together, we can uncover the lessons that others have already learned to help us navigate this crazy, wonderful ride called life. Hello and welcome to Message in the Middle with Marianne. I'm your host, Marianne, and if you've ever felt the pressure to fit into a certain mold, or if you've struggled with finding clothes that fit your style, personality, and your current body, you're going to love today's guest and the work she's doing. Joining me today is Dida Lang. Dida is a mother and wife, a former model, a fashion expert, a style coach, a thrifter, and the owner of the brand Motherthrifting Queen. Motherthrifting Queen is a brand that styles women with sustainable secondhand fashion while showing them how to authentically express themselves in their current body with excitement and confidence. Dida, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me and this opportunity to share with your audience as well.
You're very welcome. I'm really interested to bring to the audience your background and share with them some of the struggles, which, they're fairly universal, I find, fairly universal. And then, talk about the work that you're doing. So on that note, could you kick us off by sharing your background in the fashion and modeling industry and sort of tell us how you ended up in the thrifting and styling space?
Absolutely. So I will take you clear back to when I actually was 4 years old. And my mom had to tell me this story because who remembers anything at 4 years old? So she told me I was sitting in the living room watching TV, and it happened to be a fashion show on TV. And the models were walking the runway. And she came into the room, and I told her at 4 years old, I said, "Mom, I want to be one of them. I want to be that when I grow up." And she said, "Oh, well, honey, those are models." And I said, "Okay, I want to be a model." She thought for whatever reason, because we are, young at that age and we say whatever we actually like or looks good to us. She thought I would forget. She thought this little girl is going to forget about this. She's going to, not end up being a model. I actually never forgot. I never did. I strive to be a model and an actress my whole childhood and going into my adulthood. And I then begged my mom to put me in modeling school. And this is going to show my age if some of you do know this agency. But Nancy Bounds was my very first agent as for a model. And I was 16 years old when my mom finally decided to let me go into the modeling world. And from there, I graduated from Nancy Bounds and did a few little things, little gigs, little runway shows, but that wasn't enough for me. So I ventured on to another agent, and I traveled with that agent and did some runway shows and got seen and whatnot. And finally, I ended up in my 20s with a mother agent that got me commercial work, catalog, billboard, and print and acting. And I was just over the moon. Like I had made it reality. During those times, during those years of me traveling and doing these odds and ends jobs, I came across an agent, and this is where it truly did impact me personally during my journey, is I came across this agent after I got off the runway in my bathing suit, and I'm 5'10". Let's just go for the record here. I am 5'10", and at that time I was a size 2. And
right. In most of our dreams, that could happen, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I was already, fairly thin for my height.
Yeah.
And I saw this agent and he, like they normally do, size you up and down. And this is back, I will say the modeling industry has changed for the record, but this is something he did. He looked me up and down and he told me you could lose 3 more inches.
Boy, boy.
At that point, I was
Of
devastated.
course.
I had not fit the mold. And I was looking at myself in the mirror thinking, where am I going to lose 3 inches?
Right.
And how am I going to lose it within a time span that he wanted so I could pursue more jobs and fit this mold or so-called mold that they expected me to fit. And I remember developing an eating disorder and actually stopped eating and having blackouts, lying to my mom and creating a body dysmorphia disorder. And I was doing all this because I truly and just in my heart of hearts wanted to be a model. And I was going to do whatever it took. I was going to do whatever it took to fit the mold. And my mom discovered that I had been, stopped eating and I was blacking out for this reason. And luckily I came from such good, loving, caring parents, like very Christian loving home. And she put a stop to it very, very quickly. And I was able to come out of that. And I know there's other girls or other women that are not as fortunate or have that kind of support, but I was able to come out of that. So that impacted me moving forward now fast forward into my adult life now in my 30s, and we'll just say in my 30s, I now strive to encourage and help women to love their current body and not try to fit the mold that this beauty industry tells us we should be fitting. We are so different. None of us are cookie cutter shaped. None of us are going to be the same size, the same height, the same body type, none of it. And I am encouraging and trying to make an impact that women need to be loving who they are and who they are authentically and appreciating their current body and loving that.
And Dida, I just want to stop and acknowledge a couple things. So the first one is I'm really pleasantly surprised to hear how much conviction and passion you had about becoming a model and pursuing that, because the stories that, I've witnessed with my own circle, and then as many women that I've talked to, many of us, we lose our way. We lose that being in touch with what we wanted to do when we were younger. And so it's really unique almost that you were able to carry that forward. Then to go ahead and really fulfill that dream. You reach the dream you're looking for and only to find out that it really won't contain you. It won't support you. It won't take you as you are. And obviously you were perfectly fine. The shape that in the measurements and the size that you quoted, most of us would dream of. But yet to have that kind of taken out from under you, it must have been crushing.
Yes, I did carry with me this body dysmorphia due to the modeling industry and being in the industry for 20 plus years. And to this day, I do still mentally struggle with body dysmorphia, but I have overcome a lot of obstacles and I've overcome just a lot of body imaging. And going into that is one of the reasons why I have so much passion and encouraging women to really love themselves and their body or their current body and know how beautiful they are, that they don't have to fit that mold. But then when I decided that fashion, of course, it's in me, like that is all I knew. That is what I loved. I knew I wanted to take my career or take my path down that road and use fashion as a vehicle. And I could not decide what that was. So I ended up opening a brick and mortar, and it was a little boutique for women. And I got to work with women that were local. and style them and help them find
Mm.
something for an event. And it felt so good. Now, I have always been a thrifter. My boutique was, new items, but I noticed, or I had started to notice, that a lot of people were complimenting my current outfits when they would come in, and they'd ask me where I got this or that. And some of my outfits did contain thrifted items. So it got the balls rolling, and I decided to source and thrift certain items that were unique or beautiful, that I knew would just speak to a woman that was in my local area. And I started selling them out of my boutique, and I had a certain rack. It was like a special rack. It was showing that it was thrifted or vintage items. And that rack was getting sold out. And my new stuff that I had been ordering was sitting. And I noticed, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm onto something here.
Yeah, there's your sign. There's your sign.
Yeah. And so I decided long ago to create what was called a style box. And I was going to do it online. And I started, doing that and trying to decide how that was going to go and the outline of it. And somewhere along the lines, it fizzled out because I was so focused on my boutique and the brick and mortar. And I was going through the pandemic of COVID and trying to survive with my business. And I finally ended up shutting my doors, not because of the pandemic, but because later on, I found myself in a place of just being unsatisfied. I was so unsatisfied with the fact that I'm reaching local women. I had women come to my shop, and literally, I am not kidding, was retail therapy. I mean, they really thought I was retail therapy. I love that. I love that. I was able to pray for them. I was able to have my regulars that would come in and needed to vent and shop at the same time. But I wanted to reach women on a larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, this is great. I love all these local women, but this isn't the impact I want to make. I want to make a bigger impact. How do I make a bigger impact? So I ended up shutting the doors of my boutique, and I took my boutique mobile, and I created this trailer with my parents. They were able to help me do this, and my husband as well. And I created this mobile boutique. And I would go to certain events, and I would set up, and I'd meet other women, and I'd get to talk to them and sell the items. And I realized how much that was hard on my health, because I have fibromyalgia, and I just could not take the traveling, the setup and the tear down, and then coming home and, doing all that with the inventory and carrying it. And I thought, this isn't it, but it's close. I want to scale, but I don't know how. And that traveling boutique had thrifted items, custom made items. And I said, I still want to stick with the thrifted items, the secondhand clothing, the fact that we're keeping it out of the landfill, and the pieces that are quality. I mean, they're quality fashion. And then on top of it, we're finding pieces that are dead stock. Nobody else is going to have that shirt or that dress or those pair of pants. Like, it's so cool that you're the only one that's going to have that in that area. So I decided to close the doors on the mobile boutique, and I was lost. I was devastated. I was emotional. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I felt like a failure. I didn't know how I wanted to scale. I was an emotional roller coaster, and I felt so sorry for my husband because he handled it so well.
They get the brunt of it sometimes.
Right. He was just my rock when I wanted to cry for an hour. And he believed in me. He just always has believed in me. And he said, whatever you choose, you're going to do great in. I know you are. You have passion. And so I took that. And my mom and dad have always been a huge supporter. And they asked me, they're like, what do you want to do? Because they knew I didn't want to go work for somebody. I wanted to still create something or work for myself and make an impact, whatever that would look like. So came across Motherthrifting Queen in my head, and the style bundles started to develop. I had completely forgot years ago, I had created what was called a style box and the outline of it and everything.
Mm.
And I completely forgot about it. And it came to me finally again to do this style bundle and reach women on a nationwide and globally, now globally, because I have actually styled international clients now. And I'm reaching women on a global scale.
You know what I love about that is that that pattern shows up in our lives. We get these messages, we get these, intuitions, and sometimes we ignore them or we're too busy to address them, right? But they resurface. If they're meant to be, they resurface. So you had that seed and it was planted there, but you just didn't water it. And then when it was the right time, poof, it's there again and it starts to grow. I just love that. I love that story.
Absolutely. It's funny you say seed because I truly believe this. And I have a strong faith. Like I said, I come from a very conservative Christian household, and that's how I was raised. And I have known the Lord and my faith to be just as strong. And my mom, who has the strongest faith, I idolize it. Like I hope to be that woman someday, to have that strong of faith. And my husband says I already am, but sometimes I just like looking at myself, I'm like, no, I don't. Sometimes I'm emotional. But the seed thing, I do believe God does give you a seed. He gives you an opportunity. It is your job to put it in the ground, nurture it, love it, grow it, put light on it, and water it.
Yeah.
And he will help you bring it to life.
I believe that too. But I think, even if you're someone that doesn't necessarily believe in the same God, universe, whatever you want to call it, I see it over and over. I talk to so many people, and it always seems like the possibilities are there, and we just have to be open to them. And then we have to put in the work to bring them to fruition. And that sometimes means taking some risk and moving forward, even though we're scared, right? Or we don't have all the answers, but just having the passion behind it and the drive to try to see where it'll bring us. And if it doesn't work, it's not a failure because you learned something and you can take that on your next path. So I think I agree. I think it's there, and I think it's our job to drive it forward.
Absolutely. And you do have to put in the work and take the risk and have that step forward of faith and know that it's going to work. And going back to another reason why thrifting and doing this with sustainable thrifted goods, as I was doing this, as I was styling these women and I'm buying from these thrift stores or these church sales or garage sales or estate sales, and I'm going and I'm sourcing these different places to purchase these secondhand clothing pieces, I am finding myself in a place of coming full circle, and the fact that I am helping another community. So these local thrift stores that I shop at, they actually support their community and food bank, homeless shelter, and even programs that help women and children get out of abusive situations. I couldn't believe it when I had discovered this, styling women, that I was actually doing some of the work and giving back to a place that really hit home for me. I actually was a woman that dealt with abuse in my past and had mental abuse. Now, mine was not physical, thankfully, but I think mental abuse is just as bad as physical abuse. And I was living with the person, and I was isolated, and I was in a very dark and bad place. And I had, like I said, very fortunate of me to have such strong support back home to get out of that situation and be okay. But there are women out there that do not have that support, and they need programs that help them get out of these situations and get them started a new life, getting them new clothes or a housing, or helping them start over with their children. And it's scary. So I had no idea until halfway through my business as Motherthrifting Queen that I was giving back to something that really sat at home. And I think it was just God's plan all along. So then I decided to take that even further just recently. And I've decided that any bundle that was purchased, 10% of it will go back into charities that will help women get out of abusive situations.
I just love that. And I think anyone that's ever gone through any kind of situation like some of those that you mentioned, whether it's abusive or it's homelessness or, even sometimes many of us go through periods where it's just really tight financially, and there's sometimes you need to lean on other people. And I think being able to be part of that, part of what gives back to those communities is such a huge thing. And I give you lots of kudos for incorporating that into your business and really trying to full circle, bring it around because you got help and you knew what that meant.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it just sweetens the whole deal that I'm trying to do. Not only am I trying to encourage women to be themselves, to be authentic, to love their current body, to have fun and excitement and confidence in their style. But then on top of it, we're keeping things out of the landfill. We're helping our planet. And then on top of that, we're giving back to charities that are making a huge difference as well. So I feel like all around what I'm doing, when you purchase from me, when you work with me, not only are you getting that one-on-one service and being that client of mine that's going to get a new style or excitement in getting dressed, but you're going to also be giving back. And it's all around. I couldn't have made this up myself. I seriously think God made this work. He made this happen for me. And he is continuing to help me drive this and steer it in the right direction and meet the right people like yourself, just to get me that audience of, maybe one of your listeners is going through something and needs just this.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think one of the things that really struck me beyond your backstory, which of course is relatable, and many of us have gone through similar situations, maybe slightly different, but similar. What I really wanted to explore was you talk and you're so passionate about styling women in a way that helps bring their confidence and their joy back. And you're very particular about making sure you mention in their current body or in the body that they have today. So I know myself, and I know many of the listeners can relate to, trying to find something to wear for a special occasion, or even just in general. And you don't feel like you can't find the right things. You're too heavy, too short, too small, whatever it is. Everybody's got something, right? And I loved that you accentuate trying to bring that confidence and that fun back to people. And I know when we first met, one of my questions was, and I think it's worth sharing with the audience, is, well, how do you do that? Like, what if somebody comes to you and they're like, yeah, I don't know, I just wear yoga pants and t-shirts because I don't really know what to wear, or I don't really have a style. I just kind of wear whatever jumps out at me. And they're not really in love with the process or anything. It's just clothes to them. Like, how do you change that? How do you shift that for them?
Well, if I do have a client, and I have had clients that come to me and they're like, I don't know my style. I don't even know where to start. I do have a 20-minute one-on-one virtual styling and getting to know what your style is. And you can get on a call with me and we can talk that out. And then I will help you create a virtual style board that you can actually keep and have that as a guide and go shop yourself. Or after the one-on-one coaching call, then I would give you a discount to use on any size bundle that you probably, would see fit or think would be best for you, or I can give you suggestions. And I have had that happen. I've actually, speaking of, women of different sizes and different body types, I cannot help but to remember this one client of mine, and she was the sweetest woman. She's from Ukraine, and she truly is the sweetest. She's an artist, and she just, you can tell, has just sweet demeanor. But she asked me, she sent me a message. She said, I really want to do this. I really need help. I really want to have fun with my style again. But do you style women that are big and tall? And I said, oh my goodness, how sweet, first of all, for her to ask. But at the same time, it kind of broke my heart.
Yes.
Like that was her status, like that was her identity. And I said, I style all women. That's what I style, all women. And she said, really? And I said, absolutely. She goes, okay, well, I think I want to do this. And she now is a repeat client of mine. I have been styling her for some time.
That makes me so happy. And as someone who has, battled with my weight my whole life, I can so relate because it is a blocker, right? I can remember growing up and, in teenage years, in your early 20s, whatever, and you can't go into some stores. They're just not going to fit. And it's, all the kids or all the teenagers your age are in these stores and you can't shop there. And so it is something for bigger women, whether it's tall or heavy. It's something that's sort of ingrained in you if it's been a lot of years. And to have to ask that question, you're right. It is heartbreaking because it shouldn't be that way, but it's the reality. So I'm sure that really just filled her up with joy, even hearing that she could go on this journey and try this.
That's right. I was thrilled and honored to style her, to be honest. I grew up with a plus size sister, and, our body types couldn't be so different. And I style my sister as well. I help her, because she'll tell you hands down, she works as a, now I can't even think, an accountant. She doesn't have an artsy bone in her body. she is all numbers and she loves it. And I'm glad that she does, because that is not me. We are night and day difference. But she, being a plus size woman all her life, she has accepted that. And my sister she'll wear a bikini at the pool.
Good for her.
She doesn't care. And I grew up with my sister having that level of confidence. And so when I hear, other women with body types that maybe the world says is not desirable, I think is a lie.
Yeah.
I think is a lie. So that's why I'm here to encourage other women to embrace your current body, because it is magical how it operates, and you need to love it and have fun styling it. Stop living in these molds or these rules that this world tells you have to do. Like, who said?
Yeah. I really love that. And the thought of your sister in the bikini and having the confidence. Well, it's a great message, because I do think that we often, like, I know I've been trapped to this of saying, oh, I don't want to. In fact, I did this just about a month or so ago. I ordered this sweatshirt in this hot fluorescent pink, and that is so out of character. Like, I am a black everything kind of girl for 100 years. No, I'm not 100, but you know what I'm saying. And I ordered that. It was calling my name, and I really wanted it in the pink. So I did it. I bought the pink. I wore it and I loved it. But you know what? That was so out of character, because when you're used to being bigger, you tend to want, not everybody, I'm generalizing, of course, but many of us try to kind of tone it down, right? We don't want to stand out. So having the confidence to be able to wear the bikini or wear the hot pink shirt, I think it's fabulous. And I think it probably starts small. So you probably, when you partner up with these women, I'm sure at first it's probably a little bit, they're reserved would be my guess. And then as you guys get right, you're laughing as you get going, I bet you they get more and more confident, and then they're more and more able or willing to try different things. Is that accurate?
That's pretty accurate. I have had women of all sizes, even a couple of them share with me like, oh my gosh, I would never pick this for me. And actually my absolute favorite. I can't believe you knew to get this. And it's because I really style your personality. Who are you? Who are you, and who do you want? Who do you want to be? Like, what do you want to tell the world? Because your style is going to say it before you do.
I love that. What do you want to tell the world? It's not about your body and its size or its shape. It's about you and your personality.
Absolutely.
What a great message. I mean, that in itself just makes me want to stop there, because I think that's a fabulous message to share with the world, right? Don't get hung up on your body and your body's size. Who are you? I mean, that's what it's all about. Are you a kind, nice person? Are you, that's the kind of thing. So I just love that message. But I want to give you an opportunity. If you had one wish for all the listeners, what would it be?
Ooh, only one?
Only one.
Only one wish for all the listeners. Well, my wish would be for women to, and I'm going back, I feel like I'm a broken record, but for women to really let go of everything we've been taught by this beauty industry, and to really embrace who they authentically are. Because when you do that, when you embrace who that person is, a confidence level exudes out of you, a light will come out of you. And let me tell you, your passion and your purpose and your ways of finding a way to make that reality becomes fearless. It is not about the clothes. It's not about your body. It's about that light and that passion and that love that you can offer others. And I wish for other people to feel that, because I finally get to feel it, finally in my 30s. But I went through enough body dysmorphia, shaming, and trying to fit a mold that was not reality for me.
I love that advice. And it's a great message for people. I can't wait to keep watching you grow and soar in this space, because I have a very strong suspicion that you are not done yet. You are going to keep going, and this is going to morph into something more. But I love the work you're doing. I love that you're helping the community as you do it, and helping women, one woman at a time. So thank you for all of that. I will put your information and your links in the show notes. Folks, please check her out, check her work out. If you are not interested in doing a box subscription, Dida did tell me that she also does one-off items. You have a shop, right? And you do one-off items that you sell on your site. And again, that quiz is out there, or I'm sorry, not a quiz, but that you can do that one-on-one to get in line with kind of where you sit and where your fashion should drive you. So she can consult with you on that. So check her out. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you. And you stumbled and you said quiz. I do want to put out there that I actually do. I just launched it. I do have a free quiz for you to take. And I personally look at your responses and give you results and suggestions personally. So that is in my link as well on Instagram, if you do want to partake in that and see if your style actually is reflecting who you are.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Message in the Middle with Marianne. If you enjoyed the podcast, please take a minute to share it and write a review, as it helps bring new listeners to our audience. If you'd like to keep the conversation going between episodes, please join us at Facebook group Message in the Middle with Marianne.